How Nicolas Jackson provided the answer to all of Chelsea's problems in 90 minutes of football. Yes, guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel. Slightly different mood from me. Post-match, we got 6 things we learned, which obviously if Chelsea lose, I'm not happy. If we win, I'm happy. And yesterday I tried to take a more of a positive spin so that in this video today, I didn't spend my whole time saying Pochettino's got to leave and basically just repeating myself. What I saw yesterday from Chelsea told me so much about where this team needs to improve, how this team needs to improve, and by the end of this video, I will have hopefully convinced you that there is one player on the transfer market right now, in particular, that yes, Chelsea have been linked with, who I genuinely think sends Chelsea to an FA Cup final. And next season, from what I've seen in a lot of the second half of this season in particular, I genuinely don't think Chelsea are that far away from being a team that aren't competing for 10th, 9th or 8th, but a team that are competing for the top 5 next season. I think we've got to be realistic. I could literally sit here every week, and I have done, and say I'm gutted that the standards of the club aren't what they used to be. And then at some point, that gets boring, and following Chelsea and having that as always the angle and the avenue and the lens that I'm looking through, it made me fall out of love with it. Now, what I'm trying to do now is look for the positives, look at the things that are actually good, see the progress. And yesterday, even though we lost, I've come out of that without thinking today's video is going to be about why Pochettino got it wrong, sack him, and coming up with reasons as to, why I miss Roman Abramovich or why I miss Carlo Ancelotti. I want to talk to you guys today about Nicolas Jackson, the dilemma that he brings as a striker, and how I genuinely think in those 3 massive moments yesterday where Nicolas Jackson is one-on-one with the goalkeeper, basically passes it to Ortega. There's another moment where he literally heads it straight to Ortega from 4 yards out. And then there's another moment where he rounds the goalkeeper and somehow the ball goes behind him before it even goes anywhere in front of him. He could have easily had a hat-trick yesterday, Nicolas Jackson, and he misses every single one of those chances. Now, Nicolas Jackson, it's important to reference that he's not an awful footballer. Nicolas Jackson's not a bad player. There are certain elements of his game that are very good, and he gets so involved with Chelsea's play that he's actually scored a fair few goals this season, and he's also contributed plenty of assists as well. When you look back to Kai Havertz, who left Chelsea last summer, went to Arsenal. This season at Arsenal, he's had a big role to play, but in big moments, he let Arsenal down. The same way at Chelsea that we all concluded after watching him lead the line for the majority of last season, you are not a striker who is going to lead Chelsea to glory. This season, we have seen something very similar with Nicolas Jackson, which isn't to say that there are elements of Nicolas Jackson's game that are very good, similarly to that of Kai Havertz. He's not a dreadful footballer. He's good at some things, but also not good at others. But then with the role that he is being asked to do, Nicolas Jackson isn't quite ready for that. He's 22 years old. He's only been deployed as a striker for the last 18 months or so of his footballing career. And what he does so well is when he's out on the wing. Nicolas Jackson running into the channels and using those channels to try and bear fruits for the person who could put it in the net is where Jackson is at his best. There's a moment yesterday where Nicolas Jackson is one-on-one with John Stones, and you can see his feet, he's moving quickly. John Stones is literally panicking, looking at him thinking, which way are you going to go? Jackson takes it onto his left foot. He puts a ball across the face of the goal into the 6-yard box. All it needed was someone in the middle to put it in the back of the net, but alarm bells. This is the moment. Nicolas Jackson was the striker yesterday for Chelsea, so when he's running the channels and doing so well, he can put a ball into the middle, but there's no striker there to put it in the back of the net, which tells me that's what Chelsea need. And I'm going to tell you who it is at the end of the video, so stay to the very end. But Nicolas Jackson is not a bad player, and I think Nicolas Jackson could be useful for Chelsea. Obviously, every striker at 22 years old, they're not fully formulated with their style, and even the player that we're going to speak about later later. When he was 22 years old, there was still moments within his game where he wasn't as clinical as he is now, and you guys probably already know who it is, and was still figuring out the right movements as a striker to be able to be in the right positions at the right time. But the most important thing about Nicolas Jackson is that everything is good until it gets to putting the ball in the back of the net, which principally and just above all else is the job of a striker. Football isn't just about give it to the striker and he will score. There's goals that can come from all over the field. That's what makes a team so good. That's what makes City so good. There's goals from all over the pitch. Look at Rodri. So many times, defensive midfielder scores big goals, scores winners. So, Nicolas Jackson, when the ball is there in the positions where you literally, it's harder to miss than it is to score. Somehow Nicolas Jackson does that over and over again. And to see it happen 3 times, you can see the images flashing up on the screen here. To see that 3 times in an FA Cup semi-final against a team that aren't just clinical in front of goal, but clinical at lifting trophies, it tells me that for the 3rd time this season, Chelsea have played against a brilliant Manchester City, not looked out of place. We've matched them. We've done, in terms of a game plan and a tactical setup, I think Pochettino did very well. But once again, it was putting the ball in the net more times than the opposition that absolutely lets us down. Now, with Nicolas Jackson at 22 years old, the pressure at Chelsea is massive. Since Diego Costa, there's not been someone to play through the middle. The footballing world that we live in now, it's also a dying trade. There aren't many out-and-out goal scorers who will stand in the box, put the ball in the net with his head, with his feet, and there's very few of them available. Hence why Nicolas Jackson 18 months ago was a winger. And now he's been bought into Chelsea because of a purple patch of form at Villarreal last season, and Chelsea have had to go with him through the middle this year because Christopher Nkunku has been out all season injured. And I think yesterday, Christopher Nkunku, that's not the answer to the problems, by the way, but Nkunku would have scored at least one of those chances. Totally different game. We might be in an FA Cup final. That's unfortunate. That's not Pochettino's fault. It's not even Nicolas Jackson's fault. But the truth of the matter is, Nicolas Jackson as a footballer isn't complete enough to lead the line for Chelsea. So when it comes to stopping critiquing Pochettino or throwing all of the blame to Pochettino, the answers came to me yesterday. But you certainly can't blame him for Jackson missing 3 massive chances yesterday, which is why Chelsea don't win the game. And you also can't blame Pochettino for awful refereeing and a lack of VAR intervention for a penalty. Could Nicolas Jackson ever lead the line for Chelsea? I think he could. But I also don't think right now we should have the patience when the answers are so clear in front of us. We shouldn't have the patience. And before this game yesterday, I said, yeah, we should give Jackson a chance. But no, I've got the answers now. You cannot rely on Nicolas Jackson to get Chelsea from 8th in the Premier League, finalists of a Carabao Cup, semi-finalists of an FA Cup, to winning one of those competitions and finishing in a European spot. Jackson is not the man to do that for Chelsea. And yesterday was the proof. I think he could be a really good player. Needs to have some of that pressure alleviated and potentially used slightly more sparingly or in the positions that he's so good at, which is the channels. So, who is the striker that I think is absolutely perfect, even if it is a direct replacement for Jackson right now? That striker is from Sweden. He plays in Sporting Lisbon and his name is Victor Gyökeres. The reason I think this man is the right man for Chelsea is because he's actually very similar to Nicolas Jackson. And I can see you already got your keyboards out. You're like, Benson, you're going to have to really dig yourself out of this hole. Absolutely not. There is one key fundamental difference between Nicolas Jackson and Victor Gyökeres. And that is that Victor can actually finish. He has got so many variations of how he puts the ball in the back of the net. And he has got the numbers to prove it. And he's not 22 years old. He's 25 years old. He's done it in England. Yes, I know what you're saying now. It was the Championship. Yes, it was. But the way that he has developed from his time at Coventry, he had, I think, failed loan moves at Swansea, I think a team in Germany, and Victor Gyökeres has only in the last couple of years become a complete striker in my eyes for what Chelsea need. Because he makes all of the off-the-ball runs. He's very selfless. He loves to get involved. His statistics this season are absolutely mad. If I get it up on my screen now, 22 goals, 10 assists, 32 involvements in the Primeira Liga in Portugal is fantastic numbers. It's all different types of goals too. And he's 6'2". Chelsea have got no aerial presence, really. City were dominating us in the air yesterday. So at 6'2", he's got that, and he has got that ability to not only do all of this stuff that Jackson does well, but just he can finish and he scores goals. It is the plain and simple difference here, which would answer so much for Chelsea Football Club. Because look, what I saw yesterday is motivating me. It's motivating me because I can look at this Chelsea team and be like, if there was just a striker there, like an actual striker. I think we beat City. I think we're in an FA Cup final. And all of a sudden, the narrative about the whole season could be completely different. But now, people are going to tell you that Chelsea's season is over because we can't lift a trophy, because we're still in 8th in the league and the Europa League, because we've got to rely on like other teams slipping up as well. Yes, it's going to be tough. There's still something to play for. But for me, as much as it is a painful loss and you never want to lose an FA Cup semi-final, for me it became so clear yesterday that Victor Gyökeres by himself isn't going to solve everything that's wrong with Chelsea. There are deep fundamental issues at the club, and there are still so many unanswered questions that probably won't all be answered this summer. But having that guy in the middle who can not only do the great things that Jackson does, but also actually finish and not miss big chances again and again and again. And it's not just the trio yesterday, it's throughout the whole season. We're looking at Jackson and we're like, how can you do that against Everton? And then you get 3 easier chances against City and you do that, but that's where you need it most. That's where we have to get better. That's where he has to finish, and he didn't. It's plain and simple. And from watching that yesterday and watching Victor Gyökeres, the more I study him, the more I look him up, and I advise you guys to do the same to make your own judgments. But I really think this guy's got it all. He's also selfless in a team where we need to get everybody involved. Chelsea yesterday, some of the build-up was fantastic. It was electric. Like, we're not as far away as I actually thought. And that is why, over the course of the next few weeks, I'm going to change my tune a lot on this channel, because I want to use the remainder of this season to build for next season. I think we really can build next season. Whether it's Poch or someone else will, I think, depend on the nature of the performances and the results between now and the end of the season. If you can't win a trophy, can you motivate the players? That's the next question that Pochettino needs to answer himself and get answers from those players for. But Victor Gyökeres, Arsenal want him. I think Man United might want him. Spurs want him. There's a lot of clubs in Europe right now after this guy. But I genuinely think Chelsea should be doing everything to sign him. He's got a release clause. It'll be cheaper than Victor Osimhen as well. And he's available this summer. We know that. Sporting do not expect to keep him. Let me know if you agree with me in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you don't yet follow me on TikTok, the link is in the description. Twitter and Instagram, I'm posting every day Chelsea-related content on those platforms. Also, as well as YouTube Shorts. Thank you guys for watching. See you all later.